Donald Trump can no longer travel to 37 nations that restrict entry to people with felony convictions. In addition, several other nations without restrictive felon laws, including Great Britain, Senegal, and Belgium, have indicated they prefer Trump not visit anyway. Norman Chad. Norman Chad. Welcome to Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. I am Norman Chad. Coming up today on the show, did RFK Jr. really do heroin for 15 years? He's crazy. Are college football players really planting flags on football fields? They're crazy. Am I really picking the Panthers to upset the Eagles? I'm crazy. Gambling Mad, as always, brought to you by Fritos, picked fresh off of Central California trees every morning, direct to your retailer each afternoon. And by Fresca. It's refreshing. It's remarkable. It's Fresca. Fritos and Fresca. It's a meal. Now that the emotions of Election Day are behind us, let's calmly and rationally consider the soundness of the Electoral College. The Electoral College is a pile of poo. Now, I'm not going to get into the intricacies of why our founding fathers established the Electoral College to determine our president. Frankly, most people misinterpret the reasons. All I'm going to tell you is this. 1, the presidential election is the only election in the nation in which the person who wins is not necessarily the person who receives the most votes. And 2, in a democracy, and I think this should go without saying, in a democracy, whoever gets the most votes should win, period. Now, you might be asking, am I an anti-electoral college savant, anti-electoral college zealot because George W. Bush won in 2000 with fewer votes than Al Gore, or because Donald Trump won in 2016 with fewer votes than Hillary Clinton? No. I am a registered independent and seldom vote for either major party candidate. I have no dog, elephant, or donkey in this fight. I was raging against the Electoral College machine all the way back to last century, the 20th century. In fact, at the University of Maryland, I wrote a term paper arguing against the Electoral College. I got a C- on that paper, and I'll never forget confronting that stupid-ass teaching assistant who graded it. Why did I get a C-?
Because it was C- work.
What was wrong with it?
It was poorly written.
What else?
It was poorly argued.
What else?
You're flat out wrong about the Electoral College.
You are a hockadoodle. Time for Trump Tittle-Tattle, the latest news about the failed casino owner and convicted felon. Do we have music for that? Okay, that'll do. Let's go to the news on Donald Trump. Donald Trump announced he will travel to Paris Saturday for the reopening of Notre Dame. No word yet if President-elect Elon Musk will join him. By the way, wait until Elon Musk sees the late checkout charge at Mar-a-Lago. Speaking of going to France, it should be noted that Donald Trump can no longer travel to 37 nations that restrict entry to people with felony convictions. In addition, several other nations without restrictive felon laws, including Great Britain, Senegal, and Belgium, have indicated they prefer Trump not visit anyway. Donald Trump has chosen Charles Kushner to be the U.S. ambassador to France. This marks the first time that one convicted felon has appointed to an ambassadorship another convicted felon who he pardoned and who happens to be his son-in-law's father. Donald Trump reportedly suggested to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that if Canada is economically devastated by upcoming American-imposed tariffs, it should ponder becoming the USA's 51st state. Trudeau reportedly responded that he would consider this only if Trump could name 33 of the current 50 states. Donald Trump posted on X that there will be hell to pay in the Middle East if Hamas does not release the October 7th hostages by Inauguration Day. The 78-year-old convicted felon did not specify the nature of the hell to pay, but sources told us it involves Hamas leaders getting stuck in an elevator with Eric Trump. In non-Trump news, President Biden has pardoned his son Hunter for all crimes he committed or may have committed for an 11-year period. 11 years? Not 1 year, not 5 years, not 10 years. 11 years. That's an odd number. Something tells my law-breaking spidey sense that something sinful transpired at some point of this so-called 11th year. D-Gen's gonna D-Gen. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump's nominee to run the Department of Health and Human Services, says that using heroin while in college made him a better student. RFK Jr. told podcaster Sean Ryan, quote, "I was at the bottom of my class. I started doing heroin and I went to the top of my class. Suddenly I could sit still and I could read and I could concentrate," end quote. As it turns out, RFK Jr. did heroin for nearly 15 years. It was just a phase like serial infidelity. Time for NFL picks. How are we doing? Hey, better than you are. Take a look. 3-2 last week, 28-25-2 for the season. How many times do I have to tell you? With Gambling Mad, you lose less. And we validate parking. Let's go to the picks. Falcons at Vikings. The Vikings are 10-2. They've won 5 in a row, but their fans were booing the offense last week in the first half. What is wrong with you, America? Then again, I remember Pope John Paul II was booed at Easter Sunday Mass in 1997 after making a bad benediction joke. Meanwhile, the Falcons have lost 3 straight, and in those 3 games, Kirk Cousins, no touchdown passes and 6 interceptions. But this is Cousins' return to Minnesota after playing there 6 years. I only spent 1 weekend in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I know if I ever go back there, I want to make a really good second impression. I think the Falcons not only cover, I think they will pull off the upset here, take the Falcons and the points. Saints at Giants. They call the Saints Taysom Hill the Swiss Army knife. It makes no sense. He's not Swiss. He's never been in the army, and he does not cut his steak with a knife. He eats his food with his fingers. But he can do everything on the football field. In 8 seasons in New Orleans, 33 rushing touchdowns, 11 receiving touchdowns, 11 passing touchdowns. But Hill got injured last week. He is out for the season. So the Giants, who are 0-5 this season, more unsightly than a New Jersey waste management facility, can step up with my man Tommy DeVito, quiet the liquored up locals, and pull off the upset here. Yes, I'm pulling for the Giants to cover in this game, and I'm taking them in an upset, another upset we believe, take the Giants and the points. Bears at 49ers. What an ugly game between 2 proud franchises. For the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey is out for the season. Brock Purdy passed for only 94 yards last week, and the city of San Francisco is broken. The 49ers have lost their last 2 games by a combined 73-20. Meanwhile, the Bears have lost 6 straight. Their coach, Matt Eberflus, was fired last week because he used a sundial for clock management. So now they have a new coach with a Rolex, 10 days off since their last game, and I believe the Bears will roll into the city of San Francisco with nothing better to do than study their playbooks. Yet another upset, my friends. I'm going to take the Bears and the points, and I believe this will be yet another upset. It's time for our calendar pick of the week. The Panthers at the Eagles. The Eagles have won 8 straight. Could they be peaking too soon like Macaulay Culkin or the Olsen twins? Okay, sure. This game should be 38-10 Eagles, but it also could be 38-10 Panthers. You didn't think of that, did you? Okay, yes, the Panthers stink, but they have covered in 4 straight games, and the Eagles have failed to cover in 7 straight at home against an opponent with a losing record. I don't make up these numbers, people. They're floating in the ether. Anyway, believe it or not, It's another upset in the making. It's a big one. Yes, I'm going to take the Panthers in the points, but I believe the Panthers are going to upset the Eagles. You heard it here first, because nobody else would have the audacity. That's our calendar pick of the week. Browns at Steelers. Am I going to pick a fifth upset this week? Hey, how stupid do I look? They're the Browns. Okay, now, in a snowfest, Cleveland did beat Pittsburgh a couple of Thursdays ago. But just as no two snowflakes are alike, no two Browns-Steelers games are the same. For the Browns, Jameis Winston can preach, but he can still play? I don't know. For the Browns, Nick Chubb can still play, but can he still run? I don't know. The Steelers are 9-3 against the spread this season. They have beaten the Browns 19 of the last 20 times in Pittsburgh. I'll go with the Steelers in this one. They're giving 6.5 points. Amazon ships 1.6 million packages a day. That's 66,000 packages an hour. A typical Amazon driver is expected to deliver at least 250 packages daily. How do they do it? Well, they pee in a bottle. Amazon drivers are allowed 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch break during a 10-hour shift. Drivers often have trouble finding a restroom along their routes during the 15-minute breaks, and they told LAist.com that they often work through the shorter breaks due to the delivery demands. Thus, they pee in a bottle, usually in the back of the van. Last year, 3 delivery drivers filed a class action lawsuit in Denver alleging that Amazon's work policies forced them to relieve themselves in bottles and defecate in bags. Amazon drivers make an average of about $19 an hour. So under these work conditions, is it worth it? Amazon is the USA's second largest private employer behind Walmart. If you're at Amazon, should you consider switching over to Walmart? At least you'll probably be off the road, but you're just exchanging one worker-unfriendly management for another worker-unfriendly management. So that leaves you perhaps considering the USA's largest employer, the federal government. Decent salary, good benefits, and you're probably in an office instead of a big box store or a delivery van. Pretty good, huh? There's a catch. Elon and Vivek are coming after your jobs as they slash the federal budget. You'll be out of work by July 2026, and guess what? That leaves you peeing into a bottle again. What do billionaires do with the change they find behind the cushions in their couches? They spend $30 million for a steakhouse. Casino mogul Tillman Fertitta, who also owns the NBA's Houston Rockets, purchased the legendary Keen's Steakhouse in New York City for $30 million. FYI, he outbid me by $29.85 million, and frankly, I would have been heavily financed. I have been to Keen's. It doesn't even make my top 20 steakhouses that I have visited. A lot of its business, I think, comes from its historic status. It was founded in 1885, making it the second oldest steakhouse purportedly in America, the oldest being another Manhattan joint, the Old Homestead Steakhouse. Keen's also is famous for its collection of smoking pipes and for serving mutton chops. I'm not a big pipe guy, and I've never enjoyed mutton chops that much, though I love a nice MLT, mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomato is ripe. I'd like to take a moment right now and let you all in behind the curtain to see how we make the sausage here at Gambling Mad. Truth of the matter is, we are short-staffed. So many of us bring our dogs in to help, and they are quite helpful. None of them had video or audio production experience before this podcast. Actually, that holds for the people here as well. But all of them are fast learners. Every dog on our staff is a rescue. Let me introduce you to some of them, okay? This is Blue. She's with me. This is Charlie. He's with Rick. This is Cammie. She's with Bree. Oh, and then there's Asher, our only team member without a dog. Actually, we are fostering Asher. He's our rescue human. Anyway, let me tell you something that is as true as anything I can ever say, and I'm not the first person to say this. Sure, we rescue these dogs, but they rescue us time and again. It is a reciprocal relationship. God, they eat bones while we're in production. They do good work before we get on the air, and then they just snack the entire show. Before we wrap up, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. Why do we still have crosswalk buttons? First of all, most of the time, they don't even work. You push the button and it does nothing. The crosswalk signal never changes. They just put them at the intersections to give pedestrians the illusion of hope. Second of all, I am tired of acting the fool by pushing the crosswalk button a second or third time, as if that's going to make a difference. Third of all, even if the button does work, you're still at the mercy of the traffic. You know, it might say walk, but you'd better look to your left because right turn on red is built into Americans' DNA, and those crazy cars will run you over in a heartbeat to get the fat burger 20 seconds earlier. And finally of all, who is walking anymore anyway? There's only 7 of us in Los Angeles walking the streets on any given day, and the other 6 are searching for Jesus. Good luck there. And that will do it for another episode of Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad. Hope to see you next time. And remember, if you're going to roll the dice, make sure they're loaded. Norm and Chad. When I play poker, I try to win with class and lose with class. Of course, I usually lose, so for me, it's losing with class. Similarly, when you play football, you should win the game, shake your opponent's hand, and go to the locker room. Or if you hate shaking hands, win the game and just go to the locker room. But lately in college football, beating your rival on their home field is just not enough. There were 4 instances last week, with Michigan winning at Ohio State being the worst, in which the visiting team decided to plant the school's flag on the home team's logo at midfield, inciting chaos among the players. Really? Flag planting is an age-old custom with roots in military conquest of an opponent's territory. Okay, that's an armed conflict. This is just a sporting contest. That is war. This is football. And then there was Neil Armstrong, famously planting an American flag on the moon in 1969. That's a big deal. First man to walk on the moon. Certainly a bigger deal than, say, beating Florida State 31-11. Planting a flag at midfield on your biggest rival's logo is mindless and classless. If you slept with your best friend's wife in your best friend's home, would you leave the used condom on his nightstand? Just win the damn game and get off the damn field, or I will go gambling mad!
Gambling Mad with Norm Chad is written by Norm Chad and ghostwritten by Norm Chad. Executive producer John Scheinberg, Rick Barrio-Dill, and produced by Norm Chad and Rick Barrio-Dill. Associate producer is Bree Coury. And on editing, Asher Friedberg. Audio, video, engineering, and studio facilities provided by 360 Pod Studios Beverly Hills and Slap Studios LA. If you want to complain to Norm about anything, make sure to reach out at Gambling Mad Show, anywhere you get your socials, and at Gambling Mad with Norm Chad on YouTube. And if you really want to get at him, send a message to info@slapstudiosla.com.